Hey everybody, Dave Neal here, stand-up comedian and host of Bachelorette Recap, A Guy's Review. This is an update on the Cassie Randolph, Colton Underwood restraining order issue. Today, October 6, 2020, Cassie Randolph is supposed to go to Los Angeles Superior Court to get a permanent restraining order against Colton Underwood. I don't know if that's going to happen yet. I'll make an update if that does. If he doesn't show up, she'll be granted the restraining order or the charges will be dropped. We're really not sure what's going to happen, but I woke up this morning to breaking news being reported by TMZ, so let's go to it. Title from TMZ says, Cassie Randolph files police report, thinks Colton put tracking device on car. Now, if you haven't been following this whole story, this is not the video to start on. I've made about 10 other videos kind of following the whole chain of events. The reason this is important is because we've got some public figures dealing with everything from toxic love, possessiveness, and tracking, and it's kind of like a domestic violence situation. So we've been using this as a case study to examine all of the issues that's wrong with what's going on in our world with regards to domestic violence and getting help and using the system that is there to help the victim. So what's going on is Cassie basically filed for a temporary restraining order accusing her ex, Colton Underwood, of putting a tracking device on her car and sending her harassing text messages from an unknown number, amongst other things. He was texting her friends, her brother. He was showing up in her alleyway at her parents' house at 2 a.m. And showing up at her apartment in Hollywood. Her parents live an hour away from where she was. So, you know, he's been all over the map with regards to this restraining order. The judge granted her a temporary restraining order, which gives a month notice for Colton to show up into court, which is supposed to be today, October 6, 2020. And if he doesn't show up in court, the judge will pretty much grant her the restraining order, which can be anywhere from 1 to 5 years, which means he won't be allowed within 100 yards of her place of work, her vehicle, her apartment, and things like that. So, we don't know yet if the court is going to happen today. It might be postponed, something with COVID. We have no idea. So I'll break that news when it comes out. But the fact that Cassie Randolph filed a police report last night regarding the tracking device situation changes everything. It changes everything. Again, not a legal expert, so leave a comment below if I'm getting this completely wrong. But as TMZ reported, Cassie Randolph's war with Colton Underwood is now in the hands of law enforcement. Before this was a restraining order issue. Now she's actually filed charges. So what happens when you file charges, you file the police report, you become a witness in the state's case against a perpetrator. The case will be assigned to a detective in your precinct who will begin an investigation. The detective will likely contact you to ask additional questions and discuss the case. So, Colton didn't have to show up to the restraining order hearing today. He didn't have to show up. I always said it would be good if he did so we could hear what he had to say, but you would think that his legal representation would want him to stay literally 100 miles away from the court, because then he's got to answer questions in the court of law and he can't perjure himself. So by filing the police report, this might be Cassie Randolph's sort of her legal team's way of saying, look, we want you to get to court. So this might be a safety for if he doesn't show up to the restraining order hearing today. You know what I mean? And again, this might sound crazy that Cassie has to take these steps, but it was reported from sources. And again, some of this is legal matter and some of this might just be hearsay and gossip. But sources reported just a couple days ago that Colton still wants Cassie back. And this is what the source said. Colton really isn't ready to accept it yet and would love nothing more than to get Cassie back, a source told Hollywood Life. And if you don't believe sources that tell Hollywood Life, I mean, where do you get your information? Being sarcastic. Take this with a grain of salt. He is gutted that all of this is happening in front of the whole world. He hates that it has gotten to a place where she has filed a restraining order against him, and he would love to just have a conversation with her to figure out their differences. Hey, Colton, take it from me. The differences are 100 yards away from her. You put a tracking device on her car, allegedly, but here's the deal. Can she prove it? So, what happened over a month ago was Colton's brother, by the way, Brother of the Year award, the way he's handled things. Colton sent text messages to him trying to win her back, and her brother was like, look, I don't think this is my place. You know what I mean? Like, this guy really deserves a lot of credit for being a really great brother in the situation. So anyway, here's some photos of the brother. Looks like the brother's dirty hands. They found the tracking device underneath the trunk of the car, taped to the car. But this is like the worst plot of a Bond movie ever. So can a GPS tracker be traced to an owner? By the way, Googled this. I don't know if this is fact. Once you have removed the tracker from your vehicle, determine the device is a real-time GPS tracker, find the serial number on the device, and the next step is finding out who manufactured the product. With that information, you will easily know who the owner of the GPS tracker is, who put the device on your vehicle. Not looking good for you, Colton. Now, this is all legal terms, but it's already been reported that Colton has admitted to the tracking device. So he might as well just admit before the prosecutor, puts time and effort, legal money, tax dollars into this. Colton, come out of the woods, admit this in public so we don't have to waste my tax dollars in California. Bro, you live in Colorado. This isn't even your tax money. This is my tax money, which isn't much, by the way. It's been a tough year. So the penal code, of course, you got to know your penal codes in California when you're recapping The Bachelor. It used to be you just recapped The Bachelor and made a few jokes. Now I need to know what the penal code is. The California Penal Code, section 637.7, the provision states no person or entity in the state shall use an electronic tracking device to determine the location or movement of a person. The only way you can track somebody is if it's on your vehicle that you own. That's basically it. If you're a boss and you own a vehicle and you want to know where your employees are, that's fair. The problem is that Colton sees Cassie as a possession, and that's why he thought he'd, be able to track her. Sorry, bro. So the penal code. Okay, section, chapter 1.5, invasion of privacy. E, a violation of this section is a misdemeanor. Now, so let's assume they're able to track the tracking device. What world do we live in? Track the tracking device back to Colton. So it's a misdemeanor. What happens with a misdemeanor? So with an allegation, an allegation is simply a notice to a law enforcement agency that you have committed a criminal act. The allegation can arise from any source, be it a citizen or a police officer, or it could come from a regulatory agency. The pre-filing investigation, which is where we are now. Cassie's filed, and now there's a pre-filing investigation. A pre-filing investigation generally involves a law enforcement agency analyzing and scrutinizing the facts of your case to determine whether the police agency can recommend that prosecutors file charges against you. During this time, the police may question you or witnesses in the case, or even conduct a search of your property. So they'll be able to really start questioning people, assuming the prosecutors want to pick up this case. Now, this is in the public eye. I think it would be a real bad look for the jurisdiction if they decided not to prosecute this case. They have a smoking gun. They have a tracking device. They have someone who verbally admitted to putting that tracking device there. Now, on behalf of all victims of domestic violence, this would be a good thing to actually see some justice happening. The district attorney will either file charges against Colton or they'll decide to end the investigation with no charges depending on what they find. But like I said, with the evidence that we have, it looks like, they'll be able to have a pretty serious case here. And again, it's just a misdemeanor, but let's look at a misdemeanor and see what that entails in California. 1.1, punishment for a standard misdemeanor. Standard California misdemeanors are offenses that are usually punishable by a maximum of 6 months in county jail and or a fine of up to $1,000. Boy, you thought your 2020 sucked. Wow. Punishment for a gross or aggravated misdemeanor. Certain California misdemeanor offenses are considered more serious than others. These are known as gross misdemeanors or aggravated misdemeanors. In California, consequences of a gross misdemeanor conviction can include up to 364 days in county jail and or a fine of up to $1,000 or more. So, there you are. That's where we're at. Now that Cassie's filed a police report, it looks like this will be going to court, which means witnesses will have to come out, a trial will happen if the prosecutors decide to pick up this case. If they're listening, I hope that you take this seriously. I think they do. I think they generally take this seriously. By the way, is Kamala Harris still the Attorney General of California? Boy, we've got a VP running for, we got a potential presidential VP debate this Wednesday, and she might actually be the top dog in the case against Colton Underwood. Stranger things have never happened, guys. 2020 is getting weirder and weirder. If you do like political commentary, I break down all the debates and I cut them up to the funny moments and I analyze the humor within a debate. Abe Lincoln said, "We laugh because we can't cry." So as a comedian, I try to find the funny, albeit sad moments within the debate. So if you wanted to check out my last video with the presidential debate, I picked apart some Biden-Trump moments that I thought were funny, and I'll be doing that for the VP debate this week. If you want to check out any of my other content regarding the Colton Underwood versus Cassie Randolph restraining order case and now criminal charges follow my page, hit the subscribe button. And if you want some lighter stuff, as we all do, I'll be recapping The Bachelorette starting next week. So subscribe for that. Leave a comment below, hit the like button, and I'll see you next time. I'll be providing hopefully live updates later today about what happens in the case. Bye, everyone.